I'm Yasmin Gagne.
I'm Josh Christensen.
And this is Most Innovative Companies Video Edition. So Josh, how much do you spend on an average lunch in the office?
Well, we're down at World Trade Center, so I feel like
Everything's so expensive.
So expensive. I feel like I'm spending at least $20 on a lunch, which is pretty expensive. Maybe I'm just not with the times at this point, but it feels expensive. I feel like
it's super expensive.
When I first moved to the city, I could go and get like a lunch for like $5.
Totally. At the same time, I have become healthier. You know what I mean? Like, I think when I first moved to the city, I'd hit the halal cart all the time.
Yeah.
And now I'm like,
true.
I can't power through the rest of the workday on halal cart. I'm gonna fall asleep.
I'm going to like Naya or Dig on the in the Brookfield Plaza.
Yeah,
place,
and they're like, please,
like $20.
That's $17.
I would like
you want a drink?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You want an extra piece of pita? That's $17 more.
Yeah.
But I'm not a big salad person. You're a big salad person. I can't. I love a sandwich. I love a rice bowl.
I like a salad. I do tend to then like get really hungry at like 4 p.m. again. But
yeah,
a salad feels like light and you can keep working. And the reason we're talking about this is because today we're talking about Sweetgreen. Now, Sweetgreen will always be, to me, the company that made a sad desk lunch a little less sad and a little more expensive. The 18-year-old company, which went public in 2021, now has almost 1,000 locations in the U.S. We spoke to co-founder and CEO Jonathan Neman about opening new store formats, harnessing technology to change the way salads are made, and why his salads cost so much.
This is an extended cut of this interview that's exclusive to Fast Company's YouTube, but we have a bunch more content on the audio version of MIC that you can hear on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, or wherever you listen. So be sure to subscribe to Fast Company here on YouTube and to the Most Innovative Companies podcast wherever you listen.
And here's our interview with Jonathan Neman. So Sweetgreen recently rolled out some new menu items. The Ripple Flat Fries are very good. You've done a limited time collaboration with Cote, the Michelin-starred KBBQ restaurant. And I'm thinking, like, you've had some other, I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but random collaborations. You know, from Naomi Osaka to Susan Alexandra. Where do these ideas come from? Like, how do you decide what collaboration makes sense?
So it really starts by listening to our customer and trying to tell, some story around our food. So KBBQ is an example. We've heard from customers that they're looking for bolder flavors, a little bit of heartier dishes. So as we've leaned into heartier, more protein-forward food, we thought it was a really cool way to tell that story with the best KBBQ chef in the world, the only Michelin-starred chef, who happened to be a friend of ours that, we decided to tell these stories around and create these bowls. And so far it's been very successful. Customers are loving it. And again, it's always about telling some broader story. So going back to years ago when we started these collaborations, it was Dan Barber, and it was telling a story around the waste in the supply chain. And then it was David Chang and telling a story about sustainability and sourcing kelp. It was when we came to California for the first time, we partnered with John and Vinny's and then partnered with Nancy Silverton, classic California chefs, again, highlighting our produce with their culinary credibility. So, I think one of the reasons we love to partner with chefs more than anything is, Sweetgreen is such a culinary forward brand. While we are a fast casual restaurant, or sometimes we call ourselves even a fast food restaurant, we have full service kitchens. We prep all our food from scratch. We are buying from farmers, kind of many of the same farmers that a lot of the high-end restaurants are buying them from, and we're just serving them in a convenient and more affordable environment. And so that's where, partnering with these chefs kind of helps us with some of our innovation, but also helps us tell these stories around the culinary excellence that we like to bring to our customers.
What about the partnerships with celebrities and designers?
So we've tried those in the past. We had a few that we've done. The two notable ones one was Naomi Osaka. That one came through this idea of talking about trying to flip the script on the classic athlete sponsorship. So we did one with Devin Booker and one with Naomi. And, For us, it was almost crazy. I'd be, you watch TV and you'd watch these commercials and you'd watch an athlete drinking a Sprite. And you're like, what are you doing?
I was
It's like,
convinced as a kid that you should drink Sprite if you're like doing a sport.
right?
Gatorade,
I was like,
though.
clearly, yeah.
Gatorade.
Well, Gatorade, yeah, that makes sense. But no, like Sprite was like the thirst quencher. I would be like, no, I'm gonna have a Sprite. Yeah.
But even Gatorade, like Gatorade is just full of sugar. And so there's that's electrolytes in it. But if you think about who's the biggest sponsors of the Olympics, McDonald's and Coca-Cola. No Olympic athlete is eating or drinking that. And so the idea with those was, how do we, these are athletes, both Devin and Naomi, that use Sweetgreen to train. This is like their fuel. And so it was a fun way to tell that story of like Sweetgreen is fuel for high performance. The designer was more just kind of we just did a bag together, really kind of playing on the iconic Sweetgreen bag. It was not, we didn't make an actual bowl together.
So I want to talk about your sort of investment in technology. You invested in, or rather, you acquired a company to make infinite kitchen robots, which is a very grandiose term. But tell me a little bit about your automation efforts around salad preparation.
Absolutely. So we call it the Infinite Kitchen. We don't consider it a robot. It is an automated make line. And it really started with this idea of how can we improve the customer experience? And when we thought we looked closely at what were our customers telling us around a lot of the detractors around the business. It was, they love the sourcing, they love the scratch cooking, but oftentimes in our fast-paced environment, serving a lot of people in a short period of time, getting accuracy and on time could be challenging. And so we acquired this company called Spice Kitchen. Amazing founders that are all still with us, leading this effort. They were engineers out of MIT that built this technology for their own restaurant company, and we decided to then join forces almost 4 years ago. And the idea was, can we better create an experience with higher quality food, faster, more accurate? And that's what the customer wants along the way. Can we make it easier to work in our restaurants? It can be a bit stressful at times working in a fast-paced Sweetgreen. So making it easier to work in the store, easier to manage a store. We've seen that. We're seeing, significantly less turnover in the stores that have it. And then can we create a better business model with it? And so far we've been able to do that as well. We're seeing some nice margin leverage. And over time, we see it as a way to attack our price value equation even more. With this technology, over time, we were already starting to test into how we can give some of those savings back to the consumer. And, the holy grail for us is if we can have food that tastes good, makes you feel good, and is at the right price. And so that's where I think this technology can take us over time. We are very early still in our development. While we've done, quite a bit. We've opened 12 restaurants with the Infinite Kitchen technology. We're going to open at least 20 or so more this year, and then probably continue to scale it next year. And we're continuing to test and learn exactly what's the right layout, what's the right customer experience. But so far, the feedback has been great, and most of the results have been really great as well. Have you been? I know you wrote about it when we announced it.
No, I wrote about it, but I have not actually been to the restaurant. I am curious, though. Do those restaurants require kind of fewer human employees? Like, I'm trying to understand where the cost saving part comes in.
Yeah, so at peak, it requires fewer people on production. So
Sure.
you still have a lot of people working there. You still have a management team. You still have a culinary team cooking the food, prepping the food. You still have, the Infinite Kitchen does most of the assembly, but there's a few elements that do not go within the automation. So we have what we call a finishing station. So it's like a chef's counter at the end where we finish off each bowl. Those are where things like salmon, avocado, your bowl can be mixed there. And then there's that hospitality component. So you are operating with about a third less labor in each of those restaurants, but you walk in, you'll still see a lot of people. It does not feel like it's a fully automated restaurant.
Has food waste been cut down on with an automated system? I know that's a huge bane of any restaurant's, production and bottom line.
Yeah, we have perfect now we have a perfect understanding of what is being used and what's needed. It's not just the Infinite Kitchen, but the systems we built around it. So there's tools that it triggers both on the cold prep and hot prep side. So it knows, and there's like a mission control where the team sees and they're like, okay, chicken is running low. You got 7 servings of chicken left. Now time to fire more chicken. So we get this perfect kind of ability to make sure we're keeping the food as fresh as possible, and reducing waste. So yes, we've seen a reduction in food waste. I think the most surprising thing has been the improvement in actual product quality. We thought the product quality would be equal, but what was interesting is because of the way we hold the food in these kind of enclosed containers in these tubes where they're pressurized and you have perfectly temperature controlled, cold or hot, we're seeing just the bowls be even more vibrant in terms of taste and flavor and color.
In terms of, the savings that you hope to pass on to customers, what can you share about that?
I'd say it's very early right now. We're still testing and learning into it, but the goal would be at scale, to be able to figure out different price points for different consumers, making Sweetgreen even more accessible to many of our kind of fast food and fast casual peers, and really helping us drive more transactions through some of those price moves. So very early. I don't want to overstep on promising that today, but we've run some early tests, and we think there may be some opportunities to leverage some of those savings and give back to the customer.
Are there plans for more affordable menu items? Like I was looking at a JP Morgan report, and analysts cut Sweetgreen's target share price and basically explained the reduction by noting that Sweetgreen prices are 7 to 30% higher than those of its competitors. And in the report, they said absolute value has become an issue at the brand. So I'm just trying to understand, what's going on.
Absolutely. So it's something we're really, really conscious of. And I think there are opportunities for us to have different pricing tiers to bring in more consumers. However, in terms of what we offer, we're very proud of the sourcing. We're very proud of the way we treat our teams and the scratch cooking we put into our food. So, there is a cost to all that we do, and our customers typically value that, right? They value that our chicken never has antibiotics in it. Many of our competitors do. They value that we make everything in our restaurants from scratch every day, whereas many of our competitors don't. We have taken less price than the whole industry since COVID. While there's been a ton of inflation, we have taken less than everyone. If you look at how much a value meal at McDonald's in California is today, it's about $18.
Mm-hmm.
How have you managed that?
How have we managed that?
Yeah, how have you managed to basically
Much of it has been our less reliance on beef, which has seen the largest increases from an inflation perspective. But I'll say I give credit to I think price is important. We want Sweetgreen to be as accessible as possible, and we're doing all that we can through automation and other efforts to have different price points. I will say that a custom bowl at Sweetgreen in most markets starts at under $10. So you can get in and out if you want for $10 in almost every city at Sweetgreen. We also do have different pricing tiers where we price largely dependent on the price of labor and real estate. So the price in Sweetgreen is different than the price in Minneapolis, for example. But a lot of it is to cover the cost. I mean, if you look at the margin structure, it's I'd say we're not over earning in terms of what we charge for the food. We are charging at what we believe is a fair price for all that we're doing, while still believing there's an opportunity to offer different price tiers. But it all goes into what we're putting into the food, and it's the fact that we're not we're not processing our food, we're not putting stabilizers in our dressings, we're not doing a lot of the things that much of traditional fast food does to drive down the costs. Thinking about our fries, for example, most companies have frozen fries that they fry. We are hand cutting our fries and air frying them every 15 to 30 minutes. So there's a lot of handcrafted value that we are bringing. And, I think most our customers really value that, but we also understand in this time where, people are more conscious of their spending, that there can be other ways to address it. One thing that we've done recently is we've reintroduced a loyalty program. And a loyalty
I
program
wrote
that,
about your old confusing one, but
yes,
I think you have a newer one now.
we have a newer one. It's a lot simpler. The older one, while it was great for a small segment of customers that loved it, um, it was more of a membership program. This new program is more of a standard loyalty program, kind of powered by a lot of AI in the back, where we can target promotions and offers to different customer segments.
Have you all been affected by tariffs? I know you're known for using locally sourced ingredients, so I can't imagine you've been hit as hard as other businesses.
No, definitely more immune than most businesses. Our supply chain is primarily domestic. So from a supply chain perspective, pretty insulated. There are a few items that do have an impact, one being our packaging, which is not, so we do have one domestic producer, but a couple of our suppliers are international. We also have some impact to some of the component parts of our Infinite Kitchen. And then there's some things that we buy in terms of building restaurants from things like steel and millwork and things like that in terms of how we build restaurants. But overall, the impact from tariffs is very minimal, and who knows what's going to happen, as you've watched the news. We don't know where things will even land.
The Infinite Kitchen obviously incorporates a fair amount of AI, is my guess. But how else are you incorporating that sort of emergent technology into the business?
So it's something I'm very passionate about, and I think something that we've been early adopters on in a number of ways. So there's a few different applications today that we use in terms of how we run the company. One being within the restaurants, how we forecast our sales and deploy our labor, as well as purchasing, all kind of driven via AI. Second application is around customer service. We've begun piloting a number of different customer service tools around AI, which we can train them in our customer voice and all those things, and really helps. We've seen a huge improvement in our customer service scores through leveraging. We're leveraging some cool AI tools for research that we're really excited about, that we've seen some really interesting things on. Of course, our engineering team is using all of the tools, things like Cursor, as we build new products. So there's a number of different applications. I think I mentioned our how we do loyalty and CRM, beginning to be more infused. It was machine learning and now more AI driven, of how do we actually spin up campaigns to be more personalized. And then over time, we see an opportunity to leverage AI to truly personalize the ordering experience, where, based off of your order history, your dietary preferences, you would have a different menu presented to you versus someone else.
I am curious, what is your timeline for becoming profitable? I saw, I think it was an earnings report from last year, that Sweetgreen lost more than $2 for every salad it sold. What is the roadmap to get there?
Yeah, so Sweetgreen was profitable on an adjusted EBITDA perspective last year, and will increase that this year. The difference between adjusted EBITDA and net income is maybe what you're referring to, is our stock-based compensation and depreciation. So the way depreciation works in our company is, as we open a lot of stores, we depreciate them over the life of the lease. So it's not a cash profitability. It is it's more from an accounting perspective, but from a pure cash perspective, we are profitable. We've continued to leverage our G&A, and we'll continue to do so as we scale our footprint and expand our margins. And all of that the incremental profit from each store flows through to the bottom line.
At the same time, over the past year, the stock price has decreased by 56%. And I know stock prices it's not the right way to put it, but I mean, anything can make them fluctuate. But why do you think that is?
As you said, the stock, the market in the short term is a voting machine, and the long term is a weighing machine. And right now, we've always been focused on building a sustainable, long-term, profitable, and valuable company. We've been doing this for 18 years. We have a very big mission and vision, and we're laser focused on delivering that. I think one of the reasons that we've seen it is, partially macroeconomic things, but also, our same store sales came down. We had came down from where they were last year. We saw some consumers pulling back and some of our frequency kind of coming down from some of our customers. And given being a relatively small cap company, our stock can be very volatile. But I like to really focus on the business fundamentals and, most importantly, making sure that our customers love us. And over time, as we deliver more value to our customers, I'm very confident that the stock price will follow.
Are you worried about a recessionary environment, affecting the business? In fairness, you all made it through COVID, which
True,
so
yeah.
I credit where it's due.
Sweetgreen was started in a recession, so of course, it's better. I prefer the economy did well, but we're very well positioned for a recession. We have the ability to introduce new menu items quickly, given the way our company and our menu is set up from an ingredient perspective. We have abilities to leverage loyalty. We know that if we just deliver from an pure customer experience and operations perspective, that we get customers to come back. And we are the category leader in our space. There is so much white space for what we are doing. So, we have about 250 restaurants, almost 260 today. We see the opportunity to open thousands of restaurants. And so while, in the short term, a recession may pull back spending, I'm very focused on kind of more the medium, long term of continuing to grow the footprint, continuing to deliver more value to our consumers. And we have a very healthy cash balance. So I'm not really, while I think about a recession and how do we react, how do we respond to people pulling back? Am I worried existentially about the business? No.
Do you ever think about expanding more internationally? You developed a really impressive supply chain in the US, and I imagine it's sort of a difficult problem to open on another continent, for instance.
It's something we talk a lot about. I think one day we absolutely will. There's definitely a lot of opportunity for us to do so. We've seen it with many copycats opening internationally. So when I travel, I see literal copycats of Sweetgreen, which is, I guess, flattering. But today we're very much focused on the domestic opportunity. Like I said, we think we can have thousands of stores in the US alone. So, we will, eventually do it, but right now laser focused on the domestic opportunity in front of us.
Something Sweetgreen has done that's always impressed me is how much you all experiment with stores. So you've got the Infinite Kitchen stores. You had this sort of office delivery program. There were some that were just pickup only, very small stores for a while. Tell me about the sort of store categories now and which ones you're investing in.
Sure. So the different store formats that we have today we have our classic format, which is the Sweetgreen which has the classic Sweetgreen with a front line and a digital make line. We've introduced a pickup only Sweetgreen where there's no front line. It's only app or digital app or kiosk ordering. There's typically smaller footprint stores. We run a lot of our delivery business and our pickup business out of those restaurants. We are now beginning to open some of those powered by the Infinite Kitchen. And then we have our Infinite Kitchen format, which is we've talked about, and then we have a concept we call the Sweet Lane, which is our version of our drive-through. It's a mobile order and pickup drive-through experience. We have one of them in the Chicago area. It does phenomenally well. We have a few more opening this year, some powered by the Infinite Kitchens, others and one not. We see really all these different formats all being tools in our toolkit as we expand to different areas. We see a lot of potential in the Sweet Lane format. Especially, we're very excited about the Sweet Lane coupled with the Infinite Kitchen together because of the speed of service that we will be able to offer. It will unlock our ability to offer fast food speed in a more fast casual environment, which nobody's really been able to crack. So that's one area that we're very excited about.
There's still an insane line, the Tribeca Sweetgreen, but I do think that people are going to the office less. And that's, been the case since COVID. And I always think of Sweetgreen as like a quintessentially office lunch. How have you all dealt with that?
I think for a long time, Sweetgreen was the quintessential office lunch, but we've evolved a lot. The footprints evolved and the menus evolved, where it's much less so today. Ever since COVID, most of our development has been out in the suburbs. Our suburban AUVs are pretty much the same as our urban AUVs. And so our lunch and dinner mix, our dinner mix has improved significantly. So while we do really well in that office world, we've actually broadened much beyond that. And Sweetgreen today is in almost 25 states, all types of different neighborhoods, and seeing, pretty, really good success consistently across the country. So while, some of the bread and butter is office, and of course with COVID, a lot of that went away. The suburban stores and kind of broadening what we've done has also done really well for us.
I remember on Twitter a while ago, you posted a photo of yourself wearing a Make America Healthy Again hat, which I now understand was maybe a joke. But I am curious how you think about the agenda of Health and Human Services Secretary RFK Jr.
Sure. So, the reason I started this business really for me was always the mission. I always saw food as one of the pillars of health, and it's such a big problem to solve. Making healthy food delicious and desirable, convenient, and more affordable is something that I'm very, very, very passionate about. If you look at what fast food has done, it solved one problem, but it created a whole nother problem. And so I do think that, bringing more real food to the public is a very good thing. Going back from when we started, anyone inside the government or outside the government that was looking to promote this way of living and eating, we've partnered with. So back with Michelle Obama and Let's Move and her, White House chef Sam Cass, we were close partners with them. We started something called Sweetgreen in schools. We for a long time leading up to before COVID, where we shut it down, we were helping feed and educate kids in school, 4th and 5th graders in school around healthy food. So, that has been part of the core mission of Sweetgreen for a very long time. As it relates to, and so in 2016, we went for one year we had a festival, and kind of as a joke we made these Make America Healthy Again hats.
Mm-hmm.
Funny how that became this big platform. So what I'd say is I think a lot of I will only speak to the narrow parts that I have the knowledge in and affect my world, which is around food. So I think what they've done around food dyes and some of the things specifically around artificial ingredients that are in our food, I think that's undeniably amazing. Like, that is just great. I don't know, do you want your children eating that stuff?
No.
Let's just put politics aside. It's a great thing. I also think things like the fact that we spend $12 billion a year of SNAP on soda that then makes people sick also shouldn't I just think that shouldn't happen. And so there's parts of the agenda as it relates to food that I think is very on point. I think there's a huge promotion of regenerative agriculture and more organic farming and a support of local farming. So there's a lot of it that I definitely agree with. As it relates to things that are not in my lane, I have a rule: I don't talk about those things because it's not what you're here to listen to me about vaccines or not.
RFK Jr. has been a really big proponent of removing seed oil from food preparation. That is something that Sweetgreen did. What was the thinking behind that?
So we did it years ago, really just hearing from our customers. So really, as we listen deeply to our customers and what they care about, and we heard from a lot of our most loyal customers. I would come to I kind of stopped coming to Sweetgreen because I can't eat can't eat without seed oils. And even though we're very proud of the type of oil we use, it was a high oleotic sunflower oil. Customers told us that they would come more often and they would become, more loyal customers without seed oil. So about, 2 years ago, before this, before it got politicized, we began doing it. And we made a commitment that we were going to continue doing it, going through our supply chain, kind of item by item, trying to offer more seed oil free options for guests. Of course, everyone likes to politicize it. We're not here to talk politics. I'm here to talk food and
I
health.
do feel like you guys publicized it, though, as it got politicized. Is that fair to say? I mean, I was getting a lot of press releases about this, around the time it was in the culture.
Well, it's listening to our guests. And so as it became, more and more people were talking about it, there was an opportunity to deliver on that. But again, I don't think it's a political thing to say we want to serve olive oil.
How hard was it to get seed oils out of your production?
It's pretty challenging in some things. Some things easier, some things harder. A lot of recipes had to be reformulated. We had to, increase our olive oil supply. We had to, change a lot of how we cooked and held things. So certain things more challenging than others. The real challenging things are more around seed oil in inputs that we have. So I'll give you an example. We use a really great mayonnaise for our Caesar dressing. It's a Sir Kensington's mayo. Well, in the Sir Kensington's mayo, there is a seed oil. So until I can find a mayo producer that it produces mayo without seed oils, it's hard for me to make that without seed oil. So those are the ones that are more challenging. The things where we control all of the inputs directly are much easier.
That makes a lot of sense. You mentioned the sort of drive-through concept. What can you say about the next few years at Sweetgreen, or even the next year? What will we see more of? What can we look forward to?
Yeah, I think there's really right now focused on menu innovation and bringing more flavor and variety to the menu. One thing we've heard from our customers is they miss the seasonal menu. So that's
I miss the seasonal menu.
Yeah, so that's coming back in a big way starting in July, and it will continue each season, kind of revamp how we did it, bringing some of the classics back and some new things, but expect to see seasonal menus coming back. We've also tested a lot of, we're innovating a lot of things further up the funnel. So things like beverage are in test today. We have, we used to serve soft serve called Sweet Flow. That's another test that's going on. We've talked publicly about the opportunity to introduce a handheld from a menu perspective, our version of a wrap. So there's a lot of opportunity around continued menu innovation. A lot of what I'm focused on right now, though, is just continuing to elevate the core. How do we get better as we get bigger? So thinking about each ingredient. How do I make the chicken better? How do I make the steak better? The salmon, how do we get the right, better cut? How do we think about the seasoning? How does it hold better? Each of these ingredients we're really, I'd say we're like the number one focus right now is just elevating the core of what we do and making our execution in the restaurant as consistent as possible.
Got some rapid fire questions for you. What's the best Sweetgreen location in the country?
The best Sweetgreen measured by what?
However you want to qualify it. The way it
Your
the way
personal
it looks,
favorite.
The ordering process. Yeah, I'm asking you to pick your children. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You can't ask me to pick my favorite child. You have some of our New York locations are really, really high volume. You have, ones like, in Midtown Manhattan, you have a number of ones that are just really high volume.
Your favorite Sweetgreen is in Midtown Manhattan?
I didn't say favorite. I said some.
Your favorite Olive Garden. My favorite Olive Garden was the One World
The
one.
highest volume Sweetgreens. For me, I had one of the Sweetgreens that is kind of important to me in the brand was our first location in New York, the Nomad Sweetgreen. I'd say it was I think a big turning point for the company and the brand. We put a lot of love and effort into that location, and I'd say that was definitely one of my favorite Sweetgreens.
What is your standard Sweetgreen order? And I know you probably try everything, but what is your not special, normal day order?
So I'm usually eating whatever is the new thing. So right now I'm eating a lot of the KBBQ bowl. I love the guacamole greens. It's the first dish we ever made. I think it's just like a classic. And I love that the fact that I can eat it every day for 18 years is pretty impressive. So I can really mix it up quite a bit.
Are there any hacks that we should know? Like when the CEO of Chipotle was like, yeah, if you give them like a wink and a nod, they'll give you more toppings or whatever. Is there anything, is there any insider knowledge you can share with us?
Yeah, like if we wink, will they throw arugula on our face?
I'd say probably like from a flavor perspective, one of the hacks is combining two dressings.
Huh, that never occurred
I love
to
a
me.
sauce. I do that all the time.
Never occurred to me.
Yeah, so you get two of the sauces, like, you mix for example, the spicy cashew with like the green goddess or a Caesar, or like just any of the combos can create really kind of interesting new flavor profiles.
And then if you were, aside from Sweetgreen, give me 3 restaurants you like.
3 restaurants I like. Say the only fast food restaurant that I eat at that I respect a lot is In-N-Out.
All right.
That's a classic California sort of take.
It's a secret menu or whatever, but you can't beat McDonald's fries. Sorry. Sweetgreen fries are good too, but
The McDonald's, I do think I agree. The McDonald's fries are taste good. I don't know if they are good.
Yeah, I don't know if they're good, but
they're definitely not good for you.
They taste amazing.
It tastes so good.
What else do I like? I live in LA. I love all the Nancy's restaurants. Mozza and Chispaca, I think, are some of the best.
All right. I think that's
Solid.
pretty good. Do I have a last question about Sweetgreen? What is your most underrated ingredient at the salad bar?
The most underrated ingredient. Let me look. Hold on.
I feel like the most underrated ingredient for any salad place is the actual greens, like the salad itself. It's like romaine.
You guys used to have, I don't know if you still do, we used to have strawberries sometimes.
Yeah, seasonally.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
I love a strawberry in a salad.
Mm-hmm.
I love a fruit in a salad.
Mm-hmm.
Fruit is very polarizing. It's interesting. People love it or hate it. There is a fruit in a salad coming back this season. I think some of these crunches, like the crispy onions.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love a crispy onion.
Things like that we're going to be leaning more into can do a lot to kind of complete your bowl.
Are you ever going to get into CPG?
I think that's a big opportunity at some point.
All right. We're going to have to learn more about that.
All right. Okay.
Well, this was great. Thank you so much for coming on the show, John.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.